Well, hello everybody. It's been an awful day of feeds, so I must start my video by saying that Mickey is an idiot. And furthermore, her partner in crime all day, who she's been listening to, who has some really terrible reads, Morgan is an even bigger idiot. And I fear that the week might be spiraling out of control after Mickey used her power to become the HOH. She is lost in the sauce, to say the least. I have in my notes, I wanted to start actually defending Morgan last night when it comes to the whole stupid soap opera of who has a crush on Zach and who does Zach have a crush on. I wanted to defend her, but after she pissed me off all day today, I really don't feel like doing that anymore. But I still must say that Morgan stans want Ashley to be down bad for Zach so bad because Morgan is down bad for Zach so bad. But Morgan's entire game revolves around Zach, and that is the bigger issue between the two. While Ashley is still playing her own game, planting seeds which are working, and actually Ashley planting a seed today with Morgan that Jimmy said she's overbearing is part of the big reason that Morgan has been so gung-ho for pushing for Jimmy all day today as a renom. Yes, by the way, Keanu did win Veto. Keanu has a bunch of lives in this game. It is getting very stale that the same people keep being nominated. Keanu wins Veto. Is Kelly going to win the blockbuster again? Like, it is definitely getting old. And also, I think the soap opera is getting old as well. Morgan, yes, he is down bad over Zach, and it is pathetic. I don't think Ashley is. I will note that last night, Zach, Ashley, and Morgan planned a workout get-together session today. And who joined that? Lauren. So is Lauren obsessed with Zach like everyone wants Ashley to be, since Lauren butted into their workout session to work out with Zach? I don't know, but the only thing worse than the showmance is all these weird crushes that are unrequited that are getting old. Now, like I said, Keanu won the veto. Riley, of course, was pissed because he almost beat Keanu. Riley had been hyping himself up for the past day because he thought he was nominated because he was the one person that could beat Keanu. That's what Mickey said to do damage control with him. And I guess it did work because Riley hyped himself up that way. After Keanu won the veto, he apparently got really weird with Ava, who was hosting the competition, talked to her kind of crazy, which Ava didn't stand for. And now Ava, of course, is running down Keanu throughout the house. But Keanu can't go home this week. Right after the veto on the feeds, we saw Rachel pitch to Mickey that this would be a time to nominate Vince. But Mickey, who was in a room with Rachel, Ashley, and Will, didn't seem keen on strategizing or telling them who she was considering nominating. And that was the first time I noticed that this was going to be a bad day for Mickey. Why isn't Mickey strategizing with the people she's been working with the past couple weeks? And then it went from bad to worse because Keanu sat up in the HOH for like a good hour and a half, but not just to talk to Mickey alone, who is the HOH, but Morgan had to be involved as well. And that was the next sign that this HOH is going poorly for Mickey, because for the past week she's been seeing that Morgan is playing her own game, and she's been distancing herself from Morgan. And coming into this HOH, we saw as soon as Mickey won HOH that her reads on the house are pretty terrible. And the bigger issue is that Morgan's reads are somehow even worse than Mickey's. So those two together, after Mickey tried to distance herself for a week, now they've been together all day, and their reads have been the most illogical stuff that you can think of. In that conversation, Keanu, of course, threw Rachel under the bus because that's what anyone trying to work with, that's what happens with anyone that tries to work with Keanu. He's just good for being terrible for anyone that's trying to work with them. And then anyone he's going after, he ends up saving. He's really like the opposite person. Nothing goes the way you want it to go with Keanu. In this instance, yes, he threw Rachel under the bus, that Rachel is devious and feeding him info and playing the middle, and that she's hot and cold with Keanu all the time. And yeah, she's hot and cold with Keanu because Keanu's hot and cold with her, but he doesn't have like the self-assessment to actually see it that way. Now, Morgan and Mickey called him out, rightfully called him out, that the only reason they were targeting Keanu this whole time is because they kept hearing that he was targeting them. That is a good reason why Mickey was targeting Keanu this week. So they got to call him out for that. He did a good job not only throwing Rachel under the bus, but Jimmy as well. And Keanu also did say that Vinny and Zach are playing the middle as well. That Vinny and Zach were the people that switched up the votes last week. That Keanu was trying to draw a line and thought he had the numbers because of Vinny and Zach. But somehow that went in Mickey's ear and out the other. Of course, Morgan doesn't want to talk about Vinny and Zach. That's her final three, is Vinny and Zach. Anyway, in this whole conversation, Morgan and Mickey did realize that they get a lot of their info about Keanu from Jimmy, and that Keanu gets a lot of his info about them from Jimmy as well. And so Mickey is like, Jimmy's playing the middle and I'm playing on both sides, even though clearly Vince and Zach are doing the same. What pissed me off mostly about this conversation is that these two were just so gung-ho to be having this conversation with Keanu. I really think Morgan kind of feels like it was a breakthrough with their relationship with Keanu. But them, after this conversation, trusting Keanu more than Jimmy, it doesn't make sense on paper. It doesn't make sense for Mickey's game at all. The fact that they come away from this conversation, and I think this was already in Mickey's mind, which is why she didn't want to discuss it with Rachel and Will and Ashley when they were in the room before all this gone down, is because Mickey was already thinking about Jimmy for some reason. And I understand that, yes, Jimmy was caught here, that he's playing a ton of sides, that he's feeding everyone in the house information about everyone. That is the game that Jimmy has been playing. But in no way should it be on Mickey's HOH that she should want to target Jimmy as a renom. Jimmy would not come after Mickey anytime soon. I actually believe that Jimmy does take his final three with Mickey and Morgan pretty seriously as far as all of his relationships in the house. So while I understand why Mickey is upset that she's getting all this information about Jimmy, if she had any game sense, which she does not, she is just a social player through and through with no game sense at all, she would understand that going after Jimmy herself is just stupid for her game. But I guess she's stupid and doesn't see that. Furthermore, she came into this week using her power on Riley because she felt it that either she was in trouble or her allies are in trouble. So what does she do? She stole Riley's HOH. And then not only that, she nominated Riley. So why now, after doing all this, is she trying to do damage control with not only Riley, but with Kat? The damage has already been caused. And no, she doesn't realize that Riley's been cussing her out to Kat for the past over 24 hours now, a day and a half of cussing Mickey out for not only stealing her HOH, but putting him up and potentially putting Kat up. No, she doesn't realize that it's been a constant thing from out of his mouth to Kat. But she should still realize that he's upset by this entire week. I don't know if this means Mickey's an emotional player or that she just literally has no logic, but nothing she's done today, no discussion she has had, has made sense. am still sick of Riley and Kat. I mean, that should be no surprise because when they're on feeds together, it's just awkward. It's creepy. He's still creepy with Kat, and she still is clearly not as into him as he is obsessed with her. He was willing to consider not even using Veto if he won so that Kat didn't have to go up. At one point today, he told Kat that if Mickey puts Kat up, I'm going to flip my shit. I don't give a F. And then they'll really want me out of this motherfucker. She better hope she does the right thing. Riley always with his threats, always with his aggression. Kelly pushed Riley to push for Zach or Vinny to be the renom. But the problem with Riley is that he doesn't play the game and that he didn't try to do that. All Riley's pitch has been is that Kat hasn't had a chance to play the game. How? Kat, who's been just as long in this game as everyone else, has played at all the competitions. How has Kat not had a chance to play the game? She's just a non-entity player, much like him. I'm sick of his sulking, but his sulking works. This house babies this man far more than this deadbeat father has babied his own children. It's sick. It's gross. I'm sick of it. I really wish he was going home this week, but the way it's looking, that's not a chance. But Mickey does not want Riley to go home this week, even though she ruined his HOH, stole it, put him up, now thinks she could do damage control. But she's not the only one. Rachel and Ashley had a conversation where they don't want Mickey to put up Kat. Meanwhile, Kat threw both of their names out to Mickey today. Mickey said she swore she wouldn't tell them, and I don't think she will. That conversation between Mickey and Kat was very awkward today. And for anyone that had any sense, I would think that Mickey could have seen that. But of course, in typical Mickey fashion, when she's trying to talk game with someone, she gives away more information than the person she's talking with. And well, I do think Mickey might have been able to do a good thing for her own game in that conversation with Kat and getting Kat to kind of agree that she wouldn't target Mickey before jury. She still gave way more information than Kat did. The only information that Kat gave away is that she might target Ashley and that she doesn't trust Zach and would target him too. It's been a very frustrating day because Mickey's not the only one frustrating me. Rachel's been frustrating me a lot too. I really feel like I have to drag Rachel, who is being so pro showmance with Kat and Riley today, saying that she's really rooting for the showmance, that she will protect this showmance. That's what she's telling Riley. And I get that Rachel's trying to gather allies herself. But Rachel, who's been so pro woman this season, and it's been working in her favor. But if she can't see the body language that goes on between Kat and Riley, that Kat is not only not that interested in Riley, but at sometimes I could see how uncomfortable she is. And I say this every week. Fuck Kat, because she's a weirdo too. But anyone could see that situation is awkward, if not straight up uncomfortable from Kat, because Riley just is so weird and clearly so obsessed with her. I don't know. I think Mickey pissing off Riley in the first place and then nominating and expecting him to be okay with it is just stupid. This damage control, maybe it works for now, but I just don't see how in the long run any of this works. But what is even worse in the long run for Mickey is that if Mickey does take this shot at Jimmy, it really is truly dumb as hell. I don't know why Mickey has the ghost of Adrian in her today, that she wants to play this honest game with honest people. And yeah, Jimmy's done a lot, but he hasn't done shit to Mickey. And she and others could be mad that he put up Amy on his HOH, and people say that was a number for Jimmy's side. There's no sides this season. It's a fluid game. People are trying to force sides. Players are trying to force sides, but it is a fluid game. And Jimmy had a reason to put up Amy. Amy was throwing his name out there for the first week. Jimmy felt some kind of way. Jimmy going after Amy maybe was not the most strategic move in general for a lot of players in the game. But for Jimmy, there was sense there. Mickey putting up Jimmy, there is no sense there. Jimmy is not coming after her. The people she's so gung-ho on saving, like Riley, were going to this week and probably still will, because she did make this move on Riley this week, regardless of what she wants to think she's doing now, doing damage control. And then she has Morgan in her ear all night and all day, and Morgan just gets stuck on stupid things. And Ashley is the one that planted the seed. Like I've been saying for like 2 weeks now, Ashley is great at planting seeds and making targets in front of her. And Jimmy going up and Jimmy going home is not the worst for Ashley. I think Ashley is on a short list of people that Jimmy would go after. And just last week, when Lauren couldn't decide who to put up between Adrian and Ashley, Jimmy was pushing harder for Ashley to go up than he was for Adrian. Make that be clear. So I can see Ashley's point of view where Jimmy is, but I can't see Morgan's. But it is kind of Ashley's fault because she put it in Morgan's head that Jimmy said she's overbearing. But like, is that really a good enough reason to target Jimmy, even for Morgan? I get that Morgan wants to save Vince and Zach so hard this week, but I don't understand why Mickey does. There is not this great game connection between Mickey and Zach, and it's even less between Mickey and Vince. So Mickey's obsession with keeping Vince and Zach safe, even over Jimmy, there's no logic there either. And I also can't understand who Mickey thinks Riley and Kat might go after if they win an HOH next week. Like, she knows Kat would go after Ashley, maybe Zach. Ashley's supposed to be one of her allies. I talked about this yesterday, she told Riley that he could trust Zach and Vince. So does she not expect Riley and Kat to go after her own allies? So Mickey is not only willing to go after someone who's not coming after her this week in Jimmy, but her other allies might go home soon too. Nothing is making sense. If you're not having a hard time following Mickey's logic, it's because there isn't any. As I talk about it right now, there is no logic there. I'm hoping they sleep on this tonight. I'm hoping at least Mickey does. Maybe she spends less time with Morgan tomorrow. Maybe she gets a little clearer head. Maybe Rachel or Ashley will push for Vince as a ring nom. I don't know if Ashley will at this point, but maybe Rachel will. Ava did at least bring up today that Kat probably makes the most sense, at least for Ava's game. Ava didn't know if that made the most sense for Mickey's game. It does. Mickey should not be putting up an ally. I know that is the theme of the season, although I just want to say again that Jimmy did not put up an ally when it came to Amy. But yeah, Mickey putting up an ally, really, really stupid. And furthermore, after they think they had a good conversation with Keanu today, Keanu has already told Vince that he, Morgan, and Mickey came to an agreement that nobody would suspect, that they're cool. Keanu's such a blabbermouth. Like, he spent that conversation with them talking about Vinny and how Vinny's playing all these angles, and yet he still gives information to Vinny too. All today has made me do is make it clear to me that the two people I was rooting for from the beginning are the two people I'm going to continue to root for. And that's Ashley and Ava. They are two of the only people in that house that constantly have good reads. Constantly. They're great at reading this game, reading the house, reading where everyone stands. Today, I actually gained some respect for Vince's game, because if he's going to be able to play this out in the open, that he's playing all angles and nobody's going to do anything about it, And Mickey's not even that close to him, and she still don't want to target him, wants to target one of her own allies over him. He's doing something right. So I can't hate on his stupid mustache too much longer. So yeah, overall, very annoying day of feeds. Just the stupidity is endless. I don't understand how every season Big Brother finds the dumbest players, but they're really good at finding the dumbest players. Here's hoping Mickey finds some logic. There's still a day and a half until she actually has to make nominations. I'm hoping that's enough time for her to at least find some logic. She keeps repeating that. Is she the one that should put up Jimmy? Like, does that make sense? It doesn't make sense. But Morgan is then in the room with her because she's all up on Morgan today, and Morgan's all up with her. That keeps making her think that it is the right thing. Also, one more note I want to say about Mickey today. I have a lot of notes about how stupid she was. Jimmy said that Kat would want to nominate Mickey, and yes, Jimmy told Kat that Mickey would want to nominate her. So yeah, that was Jimmy getting caught up again. But then in her conversation with Kat, which I thought once again that it went bad, and I don't understand how she thought it went good. Like, maybe it went good that she got some protection from Kat, but it still should have made her see that Kat's not giving her much information, and she's giving Kat too much information. But she said, and I quote, "I don't want to split up you and Riley." And then Mickey said, "I know it sounds dumb, but..." No, you could have stopped there, Mickey. It did sound dumb. It is dumb. You have sounded dumb all day long.